We're very familiar with Malik Hall. You're welcome. He's someone who has struggled this season, as you were all very aware of. And you're welcome. But he's on the come up. You're welcome. And you're listening to Can't Read, Can't Write. You're welcome. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Can't Read, Can't Write, the podcast that proves Spartans can talk. I'm Mike Jones, joined as always by the guy who puts the Qualtrics in John Q. Public, Kevin Greck, and the guy who no longer has the coolest mic, Alex Plum. Gentlemen, how are we doing?
That was good. How does my old mic pick up an old beer crack? You two with your XLRs and your pop filters. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
I'm actually surprised I didn't catch this until you hit record, how much mic discipline you're going to need, Michael, because you can really hear it when you turn your head.
Oh.
Yep. You just stare directly in camera the entire
right?
time, Michael
The
Michael Jones.
whole time.
In case anyone skipped last week, Jonesy, do you want to remind them what we're referencing here on all of this?
Oh, sure. Yeah, that's a fair point. Listeners, we are now on the old YouTube. So you can follow us on YouTube at Spartan_pod. Same as our Twitter handle, our Instagram handle. We certainly appreciate a subscribe. And if you see the episode, would love it if you leave a comment for us, because I'm told that's important.
Yeah. Helps with the SEO. So big thank you to everyone that went over there for week one. We got like a couple hundred views, didn't we? Something like that.
Which
very surprising.
Certain, yeah.
Well, I think we can safely assume we won't be seeing any of you on YouTube again now that you know what we look like. It is disappointing, to say the least.
And they had no hesitation commenting on our appearance.
No, nor should they have. We are foul.
Well, the majority of you listeners still don't know that. So this week, do make your way on over to the YouTube and find out what so many of your colleagues have already decided is not
worth commenting on.
Worth coming back. It's worth commenting on. That's right.
We do want to thank everyone, of course, for listening and or watching. Apparently, if we could ask a small favor, please share the pod with Spartans in your life. Rate, review, subscribe. Now I can say smash that subscribe button.
Finally,
there it is.
And of course, follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Spartan_pod. Plum, what are we doing this week?
Well,
tell people the structure of a Can't Read, Can't Write.
If you're new, turns out we have the same structure whether on the audio version or YouTube. We start behind the green wall where football always leads. We've got a few things to talk about, not least of which Coach Cap landed somewhere. We might mention that. Might not. Who knows? Who cares? We'll talk about men's basketball. Great things happened this week. Great and lovely things. We'll talk about Penn State. We'll talk about Michigan and the good news that not just the men, but the women's basketball program also had over our Lil Sibs down in Ann Arbor. We'll go and talk hockey. We'll talk our friends, restaurant friends, booze friends, video making friends. We've got friends to tell you about, and we hope that you'll give them some attention too. After we do all that, we'll head off Grand River. We've got some news around the NCAA with sports and other well-timed pieces of information you might care something about. We'll preview Iowa and Ohio State, and then we'll take your Twitter questions.
Whew.
Yeah, that's a lot.
All right,
buckle in.
Let's head behind the green wall, and indeed, football is going to lead. I think the first thing of note, and I don't know that there's much to talk about here, but it's worth mentioning, is that MSU ended up paying out $3.3 million in coaching buyouts for the assistants after Mel Tucker was fired. I guess it'd be easy to blame Mel Tucker for this, but the reality is that if the football product had continued to be what it was going to be, this was still going to happen.
Right.
Or we would have just paid them to continue to make a bad football product.
Here's a question. That $3.3 million that we spent in coaching buyouts, was that only for the coaches that we were releasing early? Because I understand that we also had to pay some money to Oregon State to get those guys out of their contracts to get them to us. Is that right? Is that part of that total corpus?
Yeah, it's approximately $3 million that was paid to Oregon State to hire Jonathan Smith and a bevy of other assistant coaches. So this is in addition to that. This is the cost of doing business. In college
that
football.
represents more than Oregon State will make in TV revenue this year. So
that's one half of the Pac-12 Conference of Champions that you're talking about there, Michael. All right.
Very
Watch
hurtful.
it.
Very
Watch
hurtful.
yourself.
And look, as we'll discuss later on, some of these guys are moving up in life, maybe, or
not.
Storied programs are really moving down.
Yeah.
One or the other. Some other payouts are happening. We all were led to believe that Louisiana canceled the football game on us.
Right.
Ends up that wasn't so much true. Michigan State canceled on Louisiana. And
which, by my rules of high school and college and all personal relationships, this is the better outcome, by the way. You do the breaking up. You do not get broken up with, especially by the likes of Louisiana, whatever it is. So
we got a real green line situation here.
Yep. Yes, that's right. They were leaning into us. We pushed them away. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And we paid them $600,000 to do it, which the contract only called for $500K. We put a little bonus in there, I guess, because we're just sugar daddies up here in the Big Ten.
Well, we were going to pay them 1.1 to play, but instead pay them 6. And
to go.
Prairie View A&M is getting 500 to be demolished worse than Louisiana would have been.
Yeah.
So the good people in the Louisiana accounting department have to love this outcome, and Prairie View A&M has to be like, what? How? What is the? How did? Okay, great. Thank you. Fantastic. I guess we'll be there.
Yeah, I guess we didn't win in the negotiation, but we didn't lose either. Prairie View really lost this one. All right, the thing everyone wants to talk about, though, I think, is a solid week of hoops. MSU takes 2, one on the road at Penn State, and then another one on the road at Michigan. Let's start with the Penn State game, because it was one you could feel confident in, I think, throughout most of the game, despite the fact that it was Tyson Walker's worst game in 35 games, ending his double-digit consecutive streak dating back to last season. I don't know. Initial thoughts, guys?
I mean, the initial thought is, I know what's going to happen in this episode, and we're going to get a lot of people being like, where's the Malik Hall? Where's the apology to Malik Hall? Because this is the beginning of him sort of coming out of his shell. But I'll remind you, dear listeners, one, we will never apologize. So we're not burying the lead on that. It will not happen. And 2, these are some of the lowest rated opponents on the schedule for this year, So we like these wins. As Jonesy said, it was never really in doubt with like 30 minutes left that we're up 10, and I don't know if it even dipped down below that until the last minute of the game. But do it in one that counts. Malik, you go on the road, you go to Mackey, you put up 30, you almost win the game for us. Maybe we're in apology territory, but for the moment, you are a 5th-year senior beating up on bad competition in front of truly nobody. Like all of the stuff that we used to say about going and playing games at Northwestern now applies at Penn State. Did you guys see? Like they did the curtaining off of the upper half of the stadium. There was still no one behind the hoops, bro.
Yeah.
And also, like, I kind of thought we were a bigger draw than that. Like, that also bummed me out a little bit to be like, are we not a draw enough?
Yeah, they didn't want to come see Malik Hall shit the court. You know, I think it's interesting. 29 points is impressive. Not as impressive as 8 for 8 from the charity stripe. I do feel like I need to acknowledge 100% free throw shooting, which is the only viable standard for free throw shooting. I do just want to say, well done you, sir. Carson Cooper also 4 for 4. So, you know, I'm liking it. 14 for 16 for the team is just fine. Just fine. Just fine. I'm happy with it. I don't know. I'm not apologizing to Malik Hall. I think you said it well. 5th-year senior doing what's expected of him against a team that, I mean, Penn State, Prairie View. Can you really tell the difference? So,
the other player who had an excellent game was Jaden Akins, coming in with 20 points. At one point in time, I think he shot 4 3-pointers in a row.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think he just sort of buried them, and that was. And then
the next possession, Tyson Walker had a fast break opportunity. Saw Jaden Akins in the corner, didn't take the layup, and instead went for the scorching hot Jaden Akins, who then stopped making his 3-point shots.
That's right. Yep.
Malik Hall, just to put a little bow on that, accounted for 20 or 21 of our 35 second half points. So, not disagreeing with anything anyone said, but in a game, if you told me that Tyson Walker scored 6 points, I would have assumed we lost this game.
Right, correct.
So it is worth mentioning,
sure,
that people stepped up in Tyson Walker's stead, and we'd not really seen that this year. And in fact, we'd seen attempts at it by AJ Hoggard when Tyson Walker went out for a moment in the Minnesota game, and that did not go well at all.
Speaking of things that we hadn't really seen this year, Jaden Akins cuts to the hoop and throws down a big dunk in addition to the threes. Yeah. And I was like, oh, that's right. He was, before Cohen Carr, the really athletic one on the team. I forgot about that. He has, as well as the spot-up shooting has come along, especially recently for him, I'd have almost totally forgotten that he is a slashing wing. And we just need to see those two parts come together. The defense has been solid. The spot-up shooting has been really good.
Yep.
Let's bring back that slashing technique. And then, you know, Tyson Walker is Tyson Walker. Malik Hall, let's see if he can continue to do it against better competition. AJ Hoggard, I don't know how we feel about this. Do we want to talk about AJ here? But the purpose of me naming names right now is maybe there is some potential for the NCAA tournament if we've got 3 or 4 guys starting to do some stuff on a more regular cadence. Tyson Walker, concerns about his longevity, about his groin. I've been thinking a lot about that this week.
Same.
But yeah, very encouraging to see that.
The other thing that's worth mentioning is the 5. So Madi Sissoko plays 18 minutes, 1 for 2 from the field, 1 for 2 from the line, 1 rebound. 1 rebound in 18 minutes. In contrast, Carson Cooper plays also 18 minutes, goes 3 for 4 from the field, 4 for 4 from the line, picks up 4 boards. So that's, for those keeping track at home, 10 points, 4 boards in 18 minutes. And Xavier Booker got 5 minutes and brought in 5 points. Spoiler for the Michigan game that we'll talk about in a moment, but this is becoming a trend of Madi playing exceptionally disappointing, or rather, maybe better said, that other people have stepped up their game in ways that.
So then, who can explain? And I know we're not there yet, but who can explain how and why Madi starts against Michigan?
He wins tip-offs.
Yeah, he jumped real high, bring ball back down. If we want more foreshadowing for Michigan, Jackson Kohler, multiple attempts near the basket, unsuccessful.
Yeah.
Jackson Kohler has just sort of forgotten how to score down low. The moves are still there. He still does all the things, and then
moves are great.
It does not happen.
I watched Izzo's post game, and he said he's throwing the ball at the hoop. Like
I forgot how to play basketball. It's Jackson.
Izzo seemed unconcerned. Like the rebounding, the defense has been much better out of them, or out of Jackson. It's been improved.
Should we go to the game then that people actually want to talk about?
All right. Yes. So Michigan game. Michigan State wins 73-63 in a game at times was interesting, and it didn't feel comfortable. And then Michigan State closes out on a 10-0 run in what should have been maybe a 15 to 18 point run at the end. They just didn't make some shots.
Right. And they
sorry,
didn't really
if I said
seem
Michigan, I meant Michigan State.
Well, they didn't. And Michigan, we didn't seem too pressed about it either. They were kind of like, huh. I didn't feel, from my perspective. I keep stepping in you, Kevin. It didn't feel like. I didn't feel a lot of passion or energy from our guys. I feel like this was a game they kind of cakewalked into. They knew they were going to win it. They did win it. Meh. I didn't get a lot of heart, which they didn't need, obviously. But I don't know. Is that just me?
Well, I was distracted. There was one person with a lot of heart. There was one person with a lot of excitement. And that person was Gus Johnson about literally anything but the game. Just being surrounded by, the maize and blue seemed to be arousing to him generally.
Yes.
Having Sharon Moore there was it seemed like a really bucket list moment for him. And I was just glad that we were able to kind of all be there for Gus, as he doesn't even know what's happening in the game that he's being paid to cover. Jaden Akins goes up for a dunk and comes down hard, and he's like, there appears to be a player on the floor. 45 seconds later, it's just a complete and total mess. And it was it took me out of it as someone consuming the game, because I was uncomfortable about it. It was like the dude on the bus touching himself, and we're all just like, hey, are we supposed to pay attention? Are we not? Can we get off at the next stop and just take the next
Windex
one?
At him? Is it going to stop now? Yeah.
We can talk about this later. Maybe we should start with the game. But
no, this was it. That was the most, frankly, Gus Johnson was the most entertaining part of the experience watching the game for me. Yeah.
It certainly aroused
mental illness,
the most.
Man. Looks weird on people.
Illness.
Looks weird on people.
I like how he's like, I can do it. I can do this fanboy thing that I want to do as a 50-year-old man, which is bizarre. Yeah. That I can do it as long as I'm like, hey, I'm going to give Jimmy a little chide about the Ohio State thing and make him visibly uncomfortable about that whole side of things. Because he's like, Jimmy's like, oh yeah, we're supposed to be professionals here on the gig, and you can talk about your experience at Ohio State, but you're not supposed to be like, I'm a fan. And then of course Gus is like, oh, and then also if I say Malik Hall's a future pro, that checks the box over there for MSU. So we're
there we go.
Good. Let's go. Let's just talk about at University of Michigan football for 15 minutes on the broadcast.
I want to talk more about AJ Hogard's 3-point percentage. Okay, this season he's 30%. He's 17 for 56. The two attempts he he made in the Michigan game were both horrible. Horrible. One might have been an air ball. One was a really nasty brick.
I mean, they were both pretty nasty bricks.
And,
Neither of them were from his spots, if I remember correctly.
And for a guy who is not a good basketball player, I think everyone can agree. AJ Hoggard, not known for basketball.
More of a university wiener spokesman type of guy. You know?
Yeah. Like cool vibes. Known for being able to kind of get back into Izzo's face and calm him down. Those are things that I truly have deep respect for.
We like.
Playing basketball, leader on the court, no. So 3-point shooting, real opportunity lost there. You could have just increased your turnover rate. You know, that's one where we do count on you is unforced or forced turnovers. So I will say 5 assists was helpful. 4 personal fouls, not. The one
fouled
rebound
out in the first, or got benched after 4 minutes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Really good. Really good. And it turns out didn't hurt us. Us.
Which I think is worth mentioning that Trey Holloman played his best game in a while.
Yes.
It's not going to like light up the stat sheet, but came in important relief and didn't screw up.
Well, because in 22 minutes, he had as many assists, almost as many assists as AJ did in, 26. But to your point, this is a guy who's Trey Holloman. You shouldn't expect anything near what we should expect from AJ. And the fact that Trey is able to close that chasm so well speaks again to the utter lack of hope that we all should have for AJ. And therefore, this team going any deeper into March than maybe the first weekend.
Well, speaking of utter lack of hope, should we talk about the bigs? Because as bad as the bigs were in the Penn State game, I think things
they were better in the Penn State.
Okay, Jackson Kohler continued to not be able to get the ball into that cylindrical object.
Fine, but pulled down 7 boards, including 3 offensive ones, one of which was a putback.
And I'll give him credit.
Jackson Kohler had 2 boards in the Michigan game, my friend.
Am I looking? No.
Yeah, you're making that one up for attention.
No.
What game am I on?
7 boards. Offensive rebounds, 3.
Nothing.
Defensive rebounds, 4.
Cut it all out.
Wow.
Cut it all out. Nothing happening here.
To call him out, have the chutzpah,
really,
to call him out like that.
It was a real boner on my part.
Oh my gosh.
Real boner.
When you shoot for the podcast host, you better not miss.
Sorry. Sorry, Daddy.
Cooper did have that big putback dunk that was at an opportune time, as I recall. So, I mean, there were moments, but Mahdi, not good. Kohler, bad. Cooper, couple little things. The bigs, I think, are going to continue to be a problem as we go up against football robot borrowed from the Fox Sports ad break in Zach Edey. I don't know.
But Zach Edey's putting up points on everybody.
That's true. That's true.
I mean, what's he going to do? Put up points on us? Okay.
Listen, where's Jeff Gillooly when you need him? You know, that's my question.
Yeah.
Nope. Just me.
That's been my question the whole time. I've been just waiting for that plum. Tell us about Jeff Gillooly.
For those who don't know.
Jeff Gillooly was the
Educate our audience on this.
It was the Nancy Kerrigan assailant. He was the one that Tanya Harding paid to go in and bust up her knee real bad. You guys did not see that movie? Come on, how do you not know who Jeff Gillooly is?
How do I not? I don't know the character name.
No. That is a name that's got to stick in your head. Jeff Gillooly. Come on. Zach Edey.
I do love that actor who's made a real career about being
that guy.
A ridiculous white guy that is just a villain that just is haphazard, does not know what's going on.
Inept and contemptible ways. 100%.
I think he was in Black Klansman too, kind of like similar vibe,
around
if memory
oafish.
serves. Yeah.
Love this.
It's a good gig and one that,
and
Hollywood.
honestly, he could probably play the 5 fairly fucking well. I mean, couldn't do any worse than our guys. So you got 2 options for old Jeff Gillooly.
All right, so a couple other shout outs here. First, Malik, 18 points, 4 rebounds, but it's like he forgot how to dribble at one point in time. 4 turnovers. That's the Malik I know.
Yeah,
what
there's
I've been
the reversion to the
is
mean.
the Malik I don't know. Let's see who else. Carson Cooper. Not Carson Cooper. Cohen Carr, 8 minutes, 8 points. Still would like to see some boards out of him, but provided some much needed excitement.
6 points and then 2 really cool points. That's how you should be described.
The coolest points of the game.
The coolest of all the points.
Well, and Plum went 2 for 2 from the line went 2 for 2 from the line after the flagrant foul from Will Shetter.
That's it.
Which I don't know. I don't know how much of a pass I'm willing to give Will on that one. Like, that's legitimately dangerous what he did.
Correct.
And so if you
he was
describe it,
Cohen Carr.
He was trying to Cohen Carr's freak athleticism, and he just Cohen Carr moved too fast. But like, I don't know that.
Do you know what Juwan Howard told Tom Izzo in the handshake line after that happened?
I'll fight you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. It was confusing.
Davis Smith, 2 points in the first half after the dumbest foul I've ever seen committed by somebody. It appears Doug indeed has not been paying attention.
I have a question.
Or in the court.
So he got his 2 points in 0+ minutes. I don't know what 0 is. That mean he didn't play a full minute? He went in
approximately like 14 seconds. He gets subbed in for Hogard.
That's so good.
And
for Holloman.
Holloman, pardon me. You're right. Thank you. And
it's funny they can't just round that to 1, you know?
But then it wouldn't add up. And people would be like, what?
Then they subtract 1 from Hogard. Like, what are we really doing here?
We should have subtracted 1 from Hogard. That'd be fine. I don't think anyone can complain about that. But does that make him the hero of the game for you, Plum? Like, plays less than 1 minute, 2 for 2 from the line, does everything that you need?
Efficiency. Listen, Davis Smith has always been the best player on this team for years, I think you can say. I don't know. I like a kid who rises to the moment, which is also why I hate all of the players that we have, because they're presented with moments on a, at least twice a week, and they just skunk it up. And I'm glad that Malik is trying, but those 4 turnovers were dirty boy.
I will say, I think I've got to say, Carr rose to the moment, throws down a massive dunk, and the crowd in Chrysler Arena goes wild. To the point where even Gus Johnson needs to acknowledge it. So, not on the court, but sixth man in the building, the Spartan faithful that showed up to this game.
Well done, you. Yes.
Well done, you. Yes.
Well, Michigan had their 6th man in Gus Johnson, so
that's fair.
Correct. It was
Sounds
really
like
the
something
crowd
happened on the basketball court with everybody
I was
yelling.
too busy looking at Sharon Moore's package. This gift package that I was given, that is.
He's letting me hold on my lap.
But getting to watch the game, seeing the Maze Rage and their stupid bucket hats just like sit on their hands while the rest of the MSU faithful are the actual crowd in the game was so heartening to me. And such a shout out to everyone that went down to Ann Arbor and enjoyed themselves. I hope that continued not just on the concourse, but off into the, Skeeps and, wherever else you were going after that. The Jug, to get a burger.
Maybe somewhere with wood paneling.
Oh, what's the callback? All right. Well done, you. Really spectacular.
Yeah.
I know we chatted. I think there's 2 things to talk about in this game. One, we got to talk about Juwan. Because in the stretch of the game, it appeared they didn't even try to win.
No, you're talking about the ending 5 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
Where they were in meltdown mode and we were in, well, let's not like take it.
Pull away.
Yeah. Come on. Why would
we couldn't buy a bucket in some ways.
Dude, if memory serves, from like the 4-minute mark to the 1-minute mark, truly nothing happened in the game. It was bumbling one side and the other.
Yes.
So as happy as I am for a 10-point win, like, it's not like we took it with authority at the end of the game.
Right.
And it's not like Juwan had a plan to extend the game or run plays or call timeouts.
No, my guy was tired. He was sleepy.
He was right. He just wanted to go hang with Sharon Moore and talk about, you know, all of the recruiting happening at Ohio State. That's all he wanted to do. It was astonishing to me.
Gus said, bring me some guys, as in Sharon, go recruit good players.
Bring me, like he was the reference there.
Like I'm paraphrasing, but the gist was a plea for like a good recruiting class.
Yeah,
it like Kirk Herbstreit won't even give out an opinion on the spread,
right,
in a game that he's calling.
Yeah,
let alone an Ohio State game. Like,
right.
Just the contrast.
Yeah. And then
you wouldn't know Robbie Hummel went to Purdue. Like,
to have the official Fox Sports Instagram and Twitter pages be like, we did a little side piece with Gus where he gushes over getting a pint glass. It's fine with them. It's clearly okay. They're encouraging this behavior. Or, you know, sometimes the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing in the institutions. But there was no one in this whole process that was like, this is kind of embarrassing for Gus, and maybe we kind of just like let this thing roll a little bit. Their social media team was like, crank this thing out. He literally says in it, I'm from Michigan. I can be a Michigan fan.
Yeah.
Literally says in it.
He was born and raised in Detroit. He went to UDJ high school. He graduated from Howard. He is the quintessential Walmart Wolverine. And that is why he acts the way he does. Like everyone who has overly identified through whatever level of insecurity their own identity with the University of Michigan could never have attended there for any number of reasons. It's just him. And that's what they love. This is what defines. This is the archetype.
He's a Harvard man, Plum. So he went to the Harvard of the East as well. I don't know if you saw that whole package on him last year where it was like, oh, Gus, Harvard. Oh, he got like a certificate or whatever it was.
He went for an HR seminar.
I did not know that. That's upsetting.
It is a lot like those people on LinkedIn that are like, I got a certificate from Wharton. So
University of Phoenix Wharton. For me, please.
It was just like, what is this the future of it? Like, is this because
should we be surprised that Fox has done this though? Like,
no.
Of all networks, should we be surprised?
No, we should be more surprised in ourselves for being surprised.
I think I'm a little bit surprised that he doesn't feel the need to offset it at least. Mm-hmm. Like, I think he has a way that he thinks he offsets it. I think he does like, I'm going to say whatever I want. I'm going to gush about U of M. And then I'm going to say really nice things about individual MSU players. I'm going to say Millie Call's a pro. I'm going to say there's a lot of potential in Cohen Carr.
Yeah.
And he thinks that these things balance out. I think if you asked him, I think truly he might actually believe that or think like, I did enough. This is not a valid critique of my performance here. But it's obvious that he has no interest in saying anything, you know, even remotely like positive about MSU as an institution or about the program or about Tom Izzo just, you know, getting his 700 win and gushing over that or any of the accolades with this game. MSU Andy H pointed out that MSU just had its like 35th consecutive winning season in conference in basketball or something
Yep.
ridiculous like that. Like, that is incredible. It's the best run, as I understand it, of any Big Ten team ever. I've heard that acknowledged nowhere. And these broadcasts can bring out ridiculous stats about like when we're in the harvest moon and you know it's a leap year as it is this year. Tom Izzo is 1-4 against opponents who like they can do all of that, but they can't bring out a package about how MSU just secured one of the longest running winning conference season, streaks of all time. Crazy to me. Yeah. You can't even bother it. But I guess we have to remain positive, right, Plum? We have to remain positive.
Yeah, choose the high ground. When they go low, we go high with Michelle Obama at our side.
All right, should we do that hockey?
Hockey. Let's do it.
Despite not playing, MSU won the weekend.
Winning the bye week
doesn't happen very often.
Does not happen for us. So take that.
Do we? I don't know if in the pairwise, but we in a number of other rankings we moved up to third.
Just because in the pairwise they moved up to
was
third.
It also the pairwise?
Yeah.
For those who don't know what the pairwise is, it's sort of the Ken Palm of hockey, and it. But that's also how they do their seeding for the tournament, exclusively based upon the pairwise.
Correct. Ranked number 3, tied with North Dakota, 4th in the RPI.
Sweet.
Only teams ahead of us are the Bostons. Both of them.
Who just had the Bean Cup, but played each other in the first round. Coming up, hosting OSU, green and white game. We retweeted it, but in case people didn't see it, there's assigned colors for depending on where you're sitting. We are now up 4 points on Wisconsin because of them shitting the bed, so that's great. And
yeah, that's what we were referring to. For those that don't know, winning the bye week, Ohio State hosted Wisconsin this weekend and beat them both times. Took a lot of those points. So we are now up 4 points in the Big Ten and have the potential, and sorry, Jonesy, if this is what you were going towards, have the potential, if the puck continues to bounce the right way for us, to actually wrap up the Big Ten this weekend with some wins.
Would be nice. Quite an accomplishment for Knights. Quite an accomplishment.
Dude. And if you haven't read it, there's a fantastic profile by friend of the pod, Graham Couch, in your LSJ. So do subscribe to the Lansing State Journal. Take a look at that. Kind of outlines exactly what's happening, his family situation, how he tried to build the program, his commitment to coaching, to the sport, to what his plans are for the future. It's fantastically done, and offered some really good insight. Turns out, if you need that area next to the old Munn Ice Arena where his office is to do some studying, if that's a good spot for you, just go to the games. You just tell him you're going to the games. That's good. You can use that. You can use, I presume, like the grill and the pizza peel and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
That's free reign for you. Just go to the game and he's happy. That was my major takeaway from the piece that Graham wrote.
Women's hoops completed the sweep this weekend against Michigan, which I didn't realize. Greg, you alerted us to this. They're now 75-25 against Michigan.
This was a stat that when the MSU women's basketball Twitter account tweeted this out, it was like, are they hacked? Like, how could this possibly be true? There's just 75-25 against anyone in conference seems impossible, much less arch rival down the road. So, huge accomplishment, of course, huge accomplishment that Chrysler Arena took so many L's that it's probably continuing to collapse in on itself, like we talked about last week. So many more mesothelioma cases coming out for the University of Michigan
that's what it is.
faithful. But like, did you guys know that 75 and 25? Do you have any idea? I knew that they were bad for a while, but I had no concept of this. That's crazy. Good for them.
Keep it up.
Keep it up. Keep it up. Keep it up, Robin. You're off to a good start.
Love her.
And gymnastics also had a wonderful weekend. Now up to 8th in the country, their highest ranking ever, I believe. Just absolutely incredible. So it'll be...
And I believe also men's tennis just might have hit its highest ranking ever. It's somewhere in the low teens or something like that now. So the MSU Olympic sports and non-revenue sports are winning right now. Which like
great.
It goes to show that like maybe this athletic department had it wrong for a while. Like maybe the devil's bargain that was made by certain athletic directors in the past was incorrect. Because I mean, Plum, you've been to more of these games. You were a referee for several women's games. Like the fact that the community is coming out to support these teams, the fact that they are stacking up all of this winning, and the fact that the facilities are a little bit behind their other conference options. Like, I'm very encouraged by all this. To me, this says that we have a very healthy athletic department. I know that there are problems in football, and there's no denying that, and that's why Jonathan Smith is here. But like, is this maybe, if you look at it in the sort of like, what is it called? The thing that Stanford wins every year. That's like the overall health of the athletic department and what they're capable of. Is it like just call it the Stanford Cup, whatever it is. Like, I think this is the strongest maybe that it's ever been. And it just seems to be getting better. What do you guys think?
I think that's right. One wonders what the excuse could be for not having done.
Real quick, Plum, does one wonder, or are you wondering this?
No, I think one might wonder. One
I just was curious
wonder.
if you wondered.
I know the answer.
You're not interested.
I rarely wonder. I know. Yeah, so I don't. But for the exercise of what one might wonder,
sure,
an encouraging one who doesn't wonder to wonder.
He's using this as a device, a setup for the listener, so that now he can bestow his wisdom. My own wisdom, my own knowledge about what it really is.
So where was I? I was. Oh, that's right. One was wondering.
One was.
What the fuck does an athletic director do? Because what's the excuse? How could it have been that for so many years there was no investment, really, and frankly, and again, Tom Saxon, loved Tom Saxon, family friend, dearly loved. But truly, if I was as ineffectual, I would expect to be fired, not fired, but tarred and feathered. And it is truly unfathomable that these coaches were paid handsome salaries and allowed. It's like, well, you can do whatever the fuck you want then. There's zero accountability and to look around, right? So then it's not just soccer, but it's other sports too, swim and dive. It was a failure. And I don't know what you point to, because it wasn't like they were doing a ton of work on the football side any of those years. I mean, look at who they hired, at least up until D'Antonio, and Erickson been there a long time before that. I don't know. One would think that, and here now let me say, I should be very, very, very furious at who was before Hollis. Ron something?
Ron Mason.
Ron,
some kind of Ron
some kind
character.
Of hockey Ron, some former hockey Ron. But look what an example of failing up. My God, Ron Mason, goo. And then all
It's
of a
not
sudden,
like
they have-
Hollis did anything either.
aircraft carrier, Michael, aircraft
Yeah,
carrier.
But that's my point, though.
Invented basketball and football
Come
stadiums. Come on, man.
come on.
And he was not running away from something. He was running towards something. When he left Tom Izzo holding the bag on keeping the university in one piece in its darkest hour.
100%.
He was running towards something. Michael.
Toward a light.
Definitely will welcome back someday. We'll celebrate him someday.
Gig at Quicken Loans or wherever he ended up. Yeah, good for him.
Well, definitely was at a mortgage company. We know that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I just think it's really interesting. I know, and this would be whenever we get Graham on or folks that are connected to the program, I always like to check in on like the actual fundraising, the actual capital expenditure, that kind of stuff. Because the 2050 plan just came out for the university, and it includes a new facility for all of the Olympic stuff, indoor track. It includes another addition on the football building. It includes an addition on the Spartan Stadium. It includes other athletic facilities, not just the new intramural building that they're building south of Breslin Center. But I'm always interested to know, like, how difficult is it to fundraise for this stuff? I know the hockey program had difficulty with that, but like, truly, it seems to me right now that if you build it, they will come and people will show up and support these teams. And it won't be to the level that like we saw at Iowa this week with Caitlin Clark beating that record. It won't be Nebraska filling the whole football stadium for a volleyball game, but like, relatively speaking, it will be a high level of support and consistent support. At least that's what's being demonstrated to me. If the university shows that there's an interest in this and is putting good coaches in these roles and giving them, what resources they need to succeed, it seems like the community responds to it. That's the feeling that I'm getting, but maybe not.
At least, you point to Caitlin Clark and at minimum, nothing else. There is a lot of data now at this point in time that shows that. Did you try broadcasting women's basketball? Because people watch it. People like it. People show up for games. It truly is if you build it, they will come. But no one cared to build it because it's women. Like, and so it. I don't know. It's and we've seen in other Big Ten schools the fervor and following for volleyball, and Coach Johnson got volleyball into the Breslin. He gets that thing humming. Who's to say that? I'm not suggesting necessarily upper bowl sellouts, but like, well, why not? Maybe, why not? If Penn State can sell out Bryce Jordan for wrestling of all sports, then there's little to suggest that we couldn't do something similar for volleyball. And Robin Freilich looks to be putting together an exciting brand of basketball. Like, who's to say? And it's, I guess Plum, one wonders why I wasn't angrier earlier. The listener wonders why I wasn't angrier earlier about clearly that no one cared.
Right.
Because, when we won in golf last year, I think, or performed extremely well in golf last year, and then we had the whose name is escaping me, the guy who got to play at the Masters because he did well at a pro-am.
And then signed for Live.
Yep, whatever. But my broader point is like, am I going to tune into MSU golf if that was available to me? No,
James Pye.
Candidly, I'm not watching.
Yeah.
But these are continued touchstones to alma mater, and at least in some of these other sports, when it's basketball, volleyball, gymnastics, either of the soccer teams, if I'm on campus, if I'm visiting, and one of those games is going on, I would for sure go. Like, absolutely. Golf is a different beast, but all of those, for sure I would show up. Absolutely.
Yep.
So, it's annoying, and that's not even including the economics of that. For many of these sports, they're not full scholarships.
Mm-hmm.
So the university actually makes money on a per student basis by offering these sports.
Okay. All right. And now you're about to go into your swim and dive propaganda.
There it is.
I got
No,
it.
no, no,
I
fill that
see
pool
where
in.
this is going.
Fill that pool in. I'm good.
Fill it in. That's good.
Just, you know what? Instead of giving them,
Build
like,
that
just
hole. Build that
firing
hole.
them,
I
is
don't
there
think so.
another way? Could we have just left Jay Johnson on, on the staff and to collect his $1.1 million? We hand him a shovel and it's his job to put debris into that pool for $1.1 million. And we're just
Yes,
like,
please.
if you don't like it, you can quit. But
Just stop.
until that happens, we're paying you $20,000 a week to operate this here shovel. Get at it. Come on. Let's see it.
And which
And I
one
think
of us?
Scotty Hazelton would be like, actually, this was my true calling all along. This is
look
where
at
I
his
was
face.
This is my dream job.
This is look at his
Tell you
face.
what, you give me an earth mover, you got a deal. You don't have to pay me out anything. I'm just gonna.
Jay
move
would
some
probably
dirt.
quit, and it'd be great.
not to move us along here, but I'm wondering, have either of you guys been to Grass Lake?
I
Grass
haven't,
what?
but I've been to Clear Lake.
No, I don't know about anything about that. I'm wondering about Grass Lake.
Interesting.
Well, if you're near Grass Lake,
Uh-huh.
we should shout out the Clear Lake Grill or
Ah.
Mama's Merkin Eatery.
Yes, as it's
Dear
better
friend
known.
of the pod. I did share, and listeners, viewers, my sister's worked in the restaurant industry for a long time, bought her first restaurant. Really exciting, really adventurous endeavor.
Yep.
We had the opportunity to eat there. We recorded there. Great food. Renovations coming, but still a really cozy environment. So if you happen to be in the Clear Lake area, they're now also serving alcohol, which is even more exciting than the last time we were there. Do stop into the Clear Lake Grill. Name change coming, I think, in the spring. But it's great food, good environment, and if you mentioned
weekend
Can't Read, Can't
brunches.
Write.
Yeah. You get 200% off where they pay you to eat there, which is really a wild deal. Cannot be sustained.
If you mention Can't Read, Can't
Cannot be
Write, you
sustained.
get 15% off of your tab. So hey, if you're coming from Southeast Michigan to go up to Lansing, drive
Or
to
if you live in
194.
Grass Lake, get over to the Clear Lake Grill.
Chelsea, even it's not too
Celine,
far.
doesn't matter. Just get there.
Get there. Good food, excellent burgers.
Great food.
10 out of 10 recommendation.
Yep.
Also, we're going to see how this episode turns out because I hope viewers don't know, but there have been several technical snafus throughout this episode.
I don't think I've seen any. That's
No.
weird.
I've just gone straight through them.
I've been.
You did certainly notice that we had a new intro graphic, and we want to shout out at Jabberknocker on Twitter. Who
Say it again?
hosts a pro wrestling podcast.
I didn't
but
get that.
Created
Can
that
you
graphic
write that?
for us for free.
I need to make a note of this. What is it?
Is it Jabberknocker or Jabberknocker?
Jabberknocker. At Jabberknocker on Twitter,
There
Facebook,
it
and
is.
Instagram. If you're into pro wrestling, does a wonderful podcast. You should check it out.
Hold on a
Was
second.
Kind enough.
Even if you're not into pro wrestling, you should check this out. Okay, I watched some in the lead up to this. The passion these guys have for pro wrestling makes me look like inept. Like I've never even been to Michigan State, or I know nothing about it. Okay, true.
Which is
just- if
actually
you-
true. That is
it's
sort of
not
like
false.
he's
Let's
telling
not
on
get into
You got to
this
be U of M.
right
He'll be
now.
the first to tell you.
Listen, but it's so true. And if you just like seeing people who are passionate about something, go check them out. They're on everything. So Jabberknocker,
also-
Jabberknocker, just what you think it's spelled.
And
like.
if you happen to have some graphic design needs,
Yes.
it's a good place to reach out to.
yeah, but pay
Does
them.
great work.
But pay them.
Yeah. Pay them.
And finally,
Last shout
as
out.
long as we're on this,
Yeah.
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 Last
I
shout
can
out.
go first. So I'm not actually drinking it tonight. I'm actually having a KBS for my in-laws for Christmas because
my
these are in the
God.
fridge, and I was like, oh yeah, actually I do want that. But if after your KBS you want a little flavored whiskey and maybe even caramel corn, might I recommend Flying Ace over
Caramel corn?
here?
Listen,
Caramel
until
corn.
you've opened it and sipped upon its bounty, how dare you try to review this
Tell you
caramel
what,
corn infused
I'm going to
delight?
review live. I'm going to
Tell you
review
what.
live.
Tune in next week.
Uh-huh.
I think it's a likely listener. You've never even heard of caramel corn whiskey, and you're probably wondering, what does that taste like? I will tell you next week live on the
Yeah.
air. But here
Mhm.
and now, Jonesy is going to do a little
There
bit
it
of a
is.
nip of, what is it?
Duke and Dame salted caramel flavored whiskey.
Okay, so you
Golly.
do. So you've got the Duke and Dane. I've got the Flying Ace, and we're going to decide which one's better from week to week.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yours is caramel corn, which is not actually caramel adjacent at all.
Not at all.
Wait, caramel corn or candy corn?
No,
Caramel
caramel corn.
Caramel
Oh.
corn.
You've
Oh,
had caramel corn. You know, it's
I'm
mixed.
deeply concerned about that flavor profile.
Well, I'll tell you next week.
All right,
I want the
listeners.
cheese.
give us-
I want the cheese popcorn flavored whiskey. Do they make that?
Yes. And it still leaves like a residue on your hands,
Yeah,
even though you're
on your
drinking in a
fingers
glass.
somehow.
And you're like, how did this even happen?
This is
Oh,
crazy.
Michael.
caramel?
Yeah.
Okay, he
That's
likes
good.
it.
He's performing for camera. This is the moment. Listeners,
Yeah.
if you're still
that
on
was,
the podcast.
that was why, because we've tried some things that have not been our favorites, and you've seen me on camera, and my face has been reflective.
Yes, but they haven't. So make your
They
way over to
haven't.
YouTube. If you're on Apple Podcasts, and
Yeah.
we know that 70% of you are on Apple Podcasts, so we're talking to you.
Yeah.
Make your way over to YouTube and look there at what Michael
Wow.
Jones
Pouring more.
reacted to, the salted caramel. And then look
Lord,
also that he
my
took
God.
another pull.
Another pull of it
Look
for
that-
good measure.
And look that he is not going to have a productive morning tomorrow. Just say that.
I finished my deck today.
Oh, wow. He waits to tell us until we're live on air.
Yeah. Okay. A lot of our professional lives are bleeding into this episode.
That's true. Not mine, no. I don't have one. Liberator Gin from Valentine Distillery in Detroit, Michigan / Ferndale, Michigan.
It's we've talked about the color on the Liberator, but it truly is.
Look at that. It's a beautiful freaking color. This is old Tom Gin, but you would think it was new Tom Gin or new Thomasine Gin. It doesn't matter, really. Delicious. It's a sipping gin, and few gins are. So deeply recommend it. Drink it with ice.
And out of Ferndale, if memory serves.
Yeah, they say Detroit, but I think that's I think it gives short shrift to Ferndale, which is really where their showroom is based. So
Yep.
All right. Now that we've done all of our plugs, let's head off Grand River. First up, Ohio State. Bold move.
bold move.
Hires Chris Holtman.
And then bolder move.
Season.
Beats Purdue immediately afterwards.
Bolder move indeed.
Are you a little bit surprised at the amount of outpouring? Like Tom Izzo will always be like, I can't believe that guy got fired. But even Coach
Right.
K came in over the top and was like,
Yeah.
it's an affront to the sport that Holtman got fired this week.
Your
I was
Coach
like-
K is actually halfway decent. If you just nasaled it up very slightly, like
It's an affront to the sport.
no, you went full Gruff McGruff, the crime dog on that one.
Chicago, Illinois, 60652.
Gene Smith.
Wait, is Gene Smith still there?
I think so.
Because he's retired or retiring.
According to
They've
the website,
hired a new athletic
he
director.
is still there. Yes, he is
I
still
thought-
there. 18th year.
Yeah.
Hired in
And he hosted the
2005.
press conference for firing Chris Holtman. So
Yeah, he's a real piece of shit. And fuck that guy. Chris Holtman's not great, but Gene Smith's not great either. You know, I mean, what's
Sure.
your excuse? You hired Ryan Day. Look at his eyebrows. My God.
He saw those eyebrows and said,
That's my man.
"You can kick a
That's
field
my
goal
guy."
through those."
There's something about these athletic directors which is just unpalatable. Gene Smith really is the perfect guy for Ohio State, just like Ward Manuel is the perfect guy for Michigan. Just goo. Goo, goo, goo. I don't like it.
Does Ward get fired before Juwan?
No.
Not with his new high profile role.
Because as much as we like
That's
to
awkward for sure. If
as
you got
much
fired
as we
and you
like
were the
to
chair.
to clown on Ono for always showing up Ward, he also wants a guy that he can always show up, right? The last thing that you want is Ono must know that truly athletics is what drives that institution. It masquerades as an athletic institution, but their insecurities require athletic wins, and he knows that. Which is why he is willing to debase himself on social media for that whole side of the university. And he wants someone that he can walk all over as an athletic director. And Ward's like, that's my whole gig, baby.
Yeah.
Stomp on me.
Stomp my face.
Put those heels on and stomp on me. I got the cushion for it.
They're made for each other.
Go.
You're saying Santa Ono is the ultimate bull.
That's it. That's it. You've got it.
Yep. And Ward's like, I'll happily accept your $1 million a year to be a very mediocre athletic director. And Santa Ono's like, I'll happily continue to undermine you every chance I get. And Juwan Howard's like, I'll happily continue to be a head coach, even though I can't be bothered to intervene in the last 5 minutes of a kind of maybe salvageable game. And it just swirls down there. It just swirls around the toilet bowl.
Poorly at the end is that we were alarmed by their lack of attempt.
That was what struck out to me. No timeouts were called. No intentional fouling. No attempt at all.
You could see the difference by in the timeouts. Like everybody at Michigan State is standing around, huddled there, like engaged.
I think there was
a moment. Carr's taking in things as if he's going to go into the game, though clearly he's not. But like Michigan, it's like the four dudes who are playing, and then Doug McDaniel is off to the side meeting with his academic advisor, and Juwan is just there, and everyone else seems to be not around, including the assistant coaches.
Yeah.
I so rarely give credit for jokes when I don't come up with them myself. Usually it's my MO to just steal them and take credit for them.
Correct. Yeah.
But in that moment, Juwan Jonesy, when you're talking about how he's drawing on his little whiteboard, and then like his team just sort of wafts away from him, I was talking about how like, is he drawing like a house right now, and it's got like a pretty little tree next to it, and it's got smoke that comes out of the chimney? And our social media director turned around and she was like, and it's on fire. This is the fire of the house. And this is the people running out of it. And it was like, yeah, that's exactly what was going on. Like, dude could not be bothered. So it was bad. What was happening there?
Truly alarming. Well, it'll be fun to see what happens. Either way, Ohio State makes the first move in the conference. I would think they are probably the second best job that'll likely be available this year.
You think it's likely going to be available?
Oh.
No.
Are you saying that if it became available, it would be the second best job? Or are you saying it'll likely be available?
Ohio State is the second best job that's available this year. Indiana is the best job that will be available this year.
Also true.
Is it though?
Well,
think about the accomplishments of those two programs in our living memory. I'm not convinced. Ohio State's been to two more national championship games than...
Oh, sure. Thad had them cooking.
Yeah.
But
And that was with Butler's head coach. So, like, what I'm saying is Indiana's tried it a bunch of different ways.
Yeah.
And the best that they can make it work is Tom Crean. Are they?
maybe they should
Are
bring
they
in
the
Thad
second
Matta.
best job?
Thad Matta's got Butler cooking right now. He had Ohio State cooking before.
I don't know why we didn't all laugh harder at the idea that Tom Crean is the best thing that ever happened to Indiana. That's upsetting to everybody.
I think Ohio State might hire
Better than
Archie
Bobby
Miller's
Knight,
brother.
even, right? I want you to lean into that harder.
I'm saying in our living memory. I don't really remember the Bobby Knight games.
Yeah, but let's just go with it. Tom Crean.
I remember sad Bobby Knight.
If you wanted to
Texas
make it,
Tech Bobby Knight.
I will take an argument, Plum, but I would submit Kelvin Sampson is that argument for when it might have been cooking more than Tom Crean down there.
That's fair.
And unfortunately, he committed some recruiting violations that are so far from recruiting violations.
Yeah, it's
in today's sport.
And now he's like, but the University of Michigan? Alas.
Speaking of cheaters in the University of Michigan, the NCAA piloted this year in bowl season helmet communication, something that is allowed at the high school and professional levels, as Michigan fans will point out to you.
Yes, they like
as
to do
if that's
that.
an excuse for them violating
Cheating.
the rules.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but it sounds like that's been approved and likely is coming. We'll call this the Connor Stallions rule. Honestly, this is good for the game, good for the product on the field.
Yeah.
And hopefully reduces some level of paranoia from football coaches.
Uh-huh. All right.
The argument against has always been it's too much bother, but I think they'll end up liking it.
We are bombarded with fucking TV commercials and all the technical bother that goes into that. Putting a mic in the helmet seems like no bother.
Although you have already apologized for technical difficulties on this podcast that these people might not ever know about, and so maybe they are actually.
I'm stressed enough about it, so it's fine.
So maybe actually college coaches are onto something, and maybe it is too much of a bother. Anyway, should we get to these Twitter questions?
Yes.
Well, you got to mention something about the teams we're going to play.
Oh, yeah, just
previews.
Tell us what one might think about these upcoming games.
Okay, so there are two games coming up this week.
Tomorrow, today.
Tomorrow.
So things might be in full meltdown mode because Iowa is coming to town, and Iowa is Ken Palm 57, 13 on offense, 173 on defense. And this is a team that's it's interesting. They're not very good, but they've also got some wins. I mean, they jumped on the Wisconsin train. They've got a Rutgers win. They've got a Minnesota win. Really, they can't win on the road though. So I wouldn't worry too much about this. I would say the overwhelming likelihood is that this is not going to be a win for them. But they've got Perkins, they've got, a couple guys over there, and they got Fran. So maybe,
old Fran.
Let's
MSU.
not forget the last time we saw Fran, a truly epic meltdown at Carver Hawkeye.
Yeah.
Was this when he stared at old Kelly in the face? Yeah.
This is the same.
So good.
Two of the worst iconic moments in MSU basketball history for me. That meltdown, and then Fran not getting teed up for that nonsense.
Plum, do you want to remind everyone what we're referring to here?
Yeah. Kelly Pfeiffer is a Big Ten basketball official. This was a turning point moment in the Iowa-Michigan State game at, I don't know, what did they play at? What's the name of their field house?
Carver Hawkeye.
Carver Hawkeye in Iowa. Fran McCaffrey, the Iowa head coach, called a timeout to stop the bleed, and in the timeout left the huddle and just crossed his arms, and from about 5 to 6 feet away stared with a grimace on his face at said Big Ten basketball official Kelly Pfeiffer. And Kelly Pfeiffer just stood there and took it. After a few moments, Kelly actually
Like a
turned
word
around
manual.
turned around and pulled his pants down. And then just looked over his shoulder, like with a sort of come hither look. It's, and we've discussed this in the pod in the past. This is really an example of, Kelly Pfeiffer's an Iowa boy. You can tell very, very corn fed in all the wrong ways. And
he looks like a cob. He looks like a cob with a shirt
cobbed. On. Just cob in the face, cob in the body. He, how he gets assignments is truly, one can't understand it, but he knows where his bread's buttered, and he knows that Fran McCaffrey, like every other Big Ten coach, has an outsized influence, but particularly your home state coaches have outsized influence on the assignments you get. And so not teeing up Fran was Kelly's way of saying, sorry, Daddy, and still getting games. So
we've also got Ohio State, who I'm convinced was not this good on Ken Pom if you'd talked to us a week ago, because they fired their coach, Kevin.
Alas.
But now they are Ken Pom 62, 39 on offense, 107 on defense.
Clearly not going to make the tournament.
Yes.
Let's be
very
clear,
much so.
right?
But also at the same time, this is not their first big win of the season. They also have a Bama win, and Bama is a top 10 in the rankings team, I believe, is where they're at. But the problem is that they've been on a real losing streak. Like they've lost to Indiana, they've lost to Nebraska, they've lost to Northwestern Illinois, they've lost to everyone in the conference. And then Purdue rolls into town and they pull one off on the old Boilermaker. Crazy. Like this is why you play the games. This is college basketball, right? So a couple guys over here at the Ohio State University, and they, as far as the transfer portal is open for them, but as far as I know, they are still on the roster over there. You've got you got your Bruce Thornton. He's combo guard over there playing really well, and kind of keeping things together. But the interesting thing is you also have Jamison Battle, and you might be like, what? Hold on. What is that? Minnesota wing Jamison Battle transferred to Ohio State for his 5th year and is playing pretty well. And those are kind of the two guys that you have to keep an eye on. Other than that, not a whole lot that you have to be concerned about with this team. So hopefully this is a team that, I don't know how you want to say it, expended its worth for the rest of the year, or kind of got it all out of its system, or whatever you might want to say like that. Hopefully this is a team that got its big win, has a hangover. They do play Minnesota in the meantime, so it's not like they're just prepping for us right now. But I wouldn't expect that on Sunday in front of a home crowd, that they kind of pull that game off. So just as we've said before, this is part of the schedule that is like, these are the games that the expectation is a tournament team wins. And these are 2 games that, while they are better teams on paper than the 2 that we just beat on the road, you need to continue to kind of put away convincingly as you accelerate into the NCAA tournament.
Well said. Let's head into these Twitter questions because we've got a bunch of them. First up, Mike Jones. 10-point quad 4 win on the road in front of a home crowd. It's a huge resume builder. Eye roll emoji. It's got to boost us to the 4 line, right?
It's good.
Straight 2. Not pass go. Do not collect $200.
Next up from Mike Jones, who had Davis Smith scoring 2 first-half points on their bingo card yesterday. Thanks for that, Doug. That's with a no O and 1 G.
That's how Doug spells his name.
That's how he spells it. Doug McDaniel, like Doug Funny, only worse. Only not funny. There was a better joke in there. But yes, David Smith, best player ever. Last up from Mike Jones, huge fan of the new logo. When will the merch drop? That's the question. Honestly, the real question is, when is Mike Jones going to start doing an OnlyFans where he like just strips over this content?
Are we talking about host or listener?
Why can't it be both?
Collab.
This is an opportunity. Love this for us.
All right,
But
next
for
up,
real,
Ethan
people-
Fandrew, second-time questioner, still Team Plum.
Hey, everybody, it's me.
Do you know who this is?
I don't, but I wish I did. But maybe I do. Now, if it was Ethan Frandrew, I would know it was a Fran McCaffrey burner account, but I don't know who Ethan Fandrew is.
I moved to a large East Coast city after graduating, and the amount of people wearing MSU gear seen out walking who respond to Go Green with Go Green gives me deep sadness. What's an acceptable course of action here? Can I trip them? I've lived this in New York more than one time, and I think you are allowed to push them in front of a bus. I think that's well understood.
You know, let me say this though. I have been confronted with the joy of a surreptitious Go Green that you didn't expect, and I have at times been like tripped over the Go White because I was so caught unawares.
But did you say Go Green?
No, I didn't. But
I have said Go State as a response.
yeah,
while
sometimes
wearing...
I've been like, or I've been like, yeah, like a
Yes, I do
complete
that too.
imbecile. I have because you're not practiced. If you're not caught in it, you know, you're so excited that someone, you know, recognized that you're, you know.
There's also, if you look at us on YouTube, dear listener, and you evaluate the three of us and our skin tones next to one another, there's a certain number of steps that your brain has to go through before it's willing to announce to a stranger, Go White. So it takes a minute. The response should not and does not just roll off the tongue. It requires a certain context, and there's a series of checks and balances to make sure that everything is okay before you say that. So,
It's good.
You're deeply worried about people knowing that you're preparing for the coming race war? Is that what
That's what he's saying.
In
That's not
defense
what
of
you wanted to
people
say,
that
correct,
get
too?
it wrong.
It's what he said. Next up
All
from my favorite Ethan Fandrew. Happy President's Day to those who celebrate. I'd love to know the pod's MSU president, Mount Rushmore.
Isn't there a literal Mount Rushmore for this?
No, MSU president.
Oh,
I can tell you who's not on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Simon and McPherson, not on there.
Ugh, that's a no-go. And I think Sam Stanley's off too, frankly. Fuck him.
Yeah.
Fuck that guy.
Do we have
On
a
the
president
board
right
with
now?
me
Who's
to
to
me.
say? It's just Hannah's face 4 times.
Yeah, I think that's right. And something Mackey. Colton B. Mackey or something. It was a guy that had a weird name. No? Not that one? All right. No, one of
Last
them
up
with mutton
from
chops.
Ethan. Thrilled to have the video, but unfortunately I still don't know what Greg or Jones look like because I was unable to take my eyes off of Plum's mustache. The thing, something no one asked for right now.
And who can blame them? Truly.
Yeah.
Like, I can't. You think that
Listen.
I'm looking at anything else on our live feed with that mustache?
I
following it
brushed-
around?
I brushed all of the Cheeto dust out of it before we recorded today. You're welcome.
Next up, Kate Wall. When will
time.
you apologize to Middle League Hall?
Oh my God, Kate.
Though maybe your negative feedback is what's motivating him to do this, so I might be okay with you three continuing to dig in your heels when you know you're wrong.
Listen,
Kate,
Kevin.
4 turnovers. He forgot how to dribble in the middle of a rivalry game. Forgot. Like, you have to, Kate, you have to admit, you saw him dribbling and coughing it up like a buffoon, and you said, I've seen this before. Many times.
I love Kate's follow-up question here. She's got
great.
receipts.
She
She's got
did.
receipts. Go through
did.
these. This is so good.
You read it because we're sighted. We can't even speak to it.
Follow-up from last week's Twitter questions. Quote, Who do you have your money on not showing up against PSU? Ali. Well, Kate, it's Malik Hall, Mike, but it is Plum. I think the idea that Kate is just listening or watching with like a notebook, and she's like, all right, that's more Malik slander. More Malik slander for the slander file.
Kate, what makes it worse is that the more you ask, the more we have to.
We have to, and I refuse to surrender this ground.
And then she continues,
man.
lots of talk about my apology request being a bit. Is the real bit you guys are jinxing him into playing career best games? Oh.
No, this isn't jinxing. This is negging, Kate. Unfortunately, this is what it is.
No, I mean, listen. He has played for us for 7 years, 8 years. I don't know, too long. We can all agree on that.
Oh, we
and his performance has been so abysmal that this is truly the reversion to the mean. He has to have 30-plus games from now until we win the national championship. It's the only way to explain how else he could have been as comically bad as he's been for years.
Also worth mentioning, because I forgot to include in the outline, but MSU's going to seek a red shirt for Jeremy Fierce.
Yes, good. We hope so.
So we'll talk more about that later on. Hopefully it gets granted, because it feels like being shot early on in the season is a perfectly great reason why someone should get extra year of eligibility.
Yeah, Gus, do you want to talk about that, by the way?
No, he had some difficulties that he's getting.
Gus,
better
do you
from.
want to do anything for the community? You want to talk about that? Do you want to do anything?
Kate, I hope that your boy does great this week, so we've got more examples of our own fodder.
I also want to say, Kate, if you participate in Twitter Question Power Rankings this summer, that for sure would have won you the week.
Just not the week, the whole fucking
hands
thing.
Down. Absolutely would have won you. Next up, Beth Morrow. Should we now be worried about Ohio State? No, right? Like this is sort of mother's baby trapped in the car, strength and power, right?
What?
Like.
No, that's great. Like you can pick the car up off of your baby.
Oh,
is where he was going with this.
Gotcha. Mother's baby strength to the car.
Sorry,
mother's strength baby car.
I'm trying not to sniffle too much right now.
Oh, I know. Why don't you turn around? Oh, wait, what happened to those big flowers that were behind you? Did you remove them?
I did.
That's
too
bad.
They're feathers.
The feathers. I thought you could blow your nose in them. Nah.
But like I said, though, Beth, hopefully that all of that energy has been expelled.
Yeah, all over the floor. Next up from Beth, number 2. What can we take from Ohio State's win over Purdue to prep for March 2nd and the Big Ten tournament?
It's a good question. And one that, a more reputable podcast would have an answer to. But here's what we know about that game. Ohio State won, and they were not supposed to win that game.
No, here's the answer. Fire Tom Izzo, and we'll do just fine, apparently. I mean, what are you talking about, Beth? There's no answer here. I said earlier, get old Jeff G involved with a billy club. That'll fix it too.
All right. Is there a better word than sycophant to describe Gus Johnson? Give it your best shot.
Greg.
No. Greg, because I know what words you might use, and Plum, I think, gave you some license to use some words.
I did. You should.
There's
your chance.
in our pre-podcast meeting, Plum handed down a certain card to me, a slur card.
I gave him a card. I gave him the old slur card I gave him.
Yeah, there's an old bit by Chris Rock where he outlines where exactly white people are allowed to use certain racial slurs.
Yeah.
And Plum handed me one of those cards in our in our pre-read, and let me tell you, I am not willing to use it right now. But like truly, it's just like with Gus Johnson, like it's one thing to be a fan, but like why? Why?
Yeah.
What do you gain from
you
this?
You get nothing from it.
Your
you
peers,
get nothing.
You're truly like Michigan fans don't care anymore about you than they did before. And they like, because they think that even if you they think that Gus, when you give a compliment to Malik Hall, that's just like the ultimate like betrayal to them. And your peers have to be like, what is he doing? What, are the rules different now? This reflects just so poorly on you as a professional. I don't get it. I don't understand why he's like, I've carved out this exception for myself and I can just do whatever I want. And I'm just glad that we have him on the record just being like, I'm a Michigan fan.
Yeah,
boom.
That's it.
And there's just no denying it at this point.
There's a benefit to just naming that. I think that's right.
Alpha cuck.
All right, next up, Ryan Schultz. More on fucking Gus. Last season, Gus J kept repeatedly saying, Jet with 2 T's. Why did he miss the obvious opportunity to coin a new nickname for his beloved scum team? Sans O-Dog. Sans O-Doug. Say that one wrong.
Sans O-Doug.
Sans O-Doug. I think it has a nice ring to it, no?
Sans O-Doug.
Sans O-Doug.
Other people have already discussed this, but if my parents made my name a verb,
yeah, you'd have a problem.
I'd probably head to the courthouse.
Yeah.
There's a dog in our neighborhood named Doug, spelled the same way.
Well, that makes sense because that's a thing he did.
Yeah.
Right underneath the fence. All right. Last up from Ryan Schultz. Does number 22 continue to start? Should number 22 continue to start?
Jonesy?
Yes and yes. Yes and yes.
Boo.
There you go.
You heard it here first.
I mean, he wins the tip-off. He'll check out otherwise.
He's going to get play time.
What do you mean? What do you mean? Like just now? Like he's just going to begin checking out?
We've talked about this before. This is not the first team where it's like who's playing at the end of the game is more important than who's playing at the beginning of the game. And Tom Izzo has done that his entire career.
All right,
you can go all the way back to, even the national championship winning team where their
Next up is
longest tenured NBA player came off the bench.
Yeah.
Zach Colmoden? Zach created this account solely to demand an apology to Malik Hall. That you were wrong. I demand it.
No. I'm sorry. You're misreading it. To demand the apology of Malik Hall. In other words, Malik owes us and every MSU fan an apology for his abjectly terrible performance week after week, year after year. I agree with you, Zach. Thank you. And I'm glad you named him.
You're welcome.
Great.
And also, Kate, you're doing so well. You don't need to make burners. This isn't a requirement.
Okay.
But Zach, if you're real, welcome to Twitter, and I'm really sorry.
Yeah,
it's going
don't
to ruin
you don't want to be on Twitter right
over
now.
to YouTube.
Yeah,
and also make more accounts and like and subscribe in other places. Next up from Ali, when did you know we were winning Saturday night? For me, it was the 12-minute mark of the first half when they started committing the dumbest turnovers. Never a doubt.
I think when they fouled Davis Smith with 0.4 seconds left in the half is when I said, you're truly too dumb to earn this game.
For me, it was literally the press conference after Illinois when he was saying, you're welcome. You can't watch an individual truly have a mental break in front of you and not realize, like, this is just not funny anymore. I mean, we're going to make fun of it, but it's not. Like, it's sad, and he needs help. Like, truly, he needs help. He's not well, and he isn't capable of coaching, period. So that's
I'm
when I
with
knew
you
we would
on
win.
I knew about these meltdowns that they had, but I never believed that they could happen to us until I was watching it take place over the last 5 minutes. And I was like, I've read about this. I've seen it in the stat log. I've watched it a couple times, but truly here it is. And you are absolutely right. Sorry, Jonesy, I interrupted you.
No. I just was going to note that we didn't talk about the generous terms under which he described the situation that Terrence was in.
Because he remembered
almost
halfway
as if
through talking
he had
about
a
it.
sense of empathy for the situation, as if he could really put himself in the shoes.
Put himself in the old scissor lift, as it were.
Nope. No one talks about that, Michael.
No.
No one talks about
that. From Ali is, if Alan Heller succeeds in his mission of wiping Ann Arbor off the map, what does that mean for the Clearwater Grill? Will Mike's sister be installed as viceroy of what remains of the Huron River
conurbation? That's a great
word. I don't know that word.
Wow.
That you may have made up, because I also don't know that word.
Okay.
Look at what you've done.
Oh, it does. It means an extended urban area typically consisting of several towns merging with the suburbs of one or more cities.
Actually, that is a poor description of the river. The river really snakes through Ann Arbor.
Yeah.
Clearly Grill actually pulls in a halfway decent Spartan crowd because of its proximity to Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and if you live in Grass Lake, you'd want to go there for sure.
Next up, Lorenzo Verheisman asks, is it pathetic of Spartan fans to bring up beating the Wolverines in gymnastics, along with hockey and basketball, somehow make up for getting slaughtered in football? I mean, do we really want to start talking cross-country and field hockey? And I am a Spartan myself.
I actually completely agree with Lorenzo here. I think this is a topic worth talking about.
Yeah.
I think there have been years where we as a podcast have been like, congrats on your softball, University of Michigan, but no one cares. I mean, these would have been peak D'Antonio years.
Yeah.
So is it that we're being inconsistent here? I mean, we took the time to celebrate the amount of success that we've had against them.
No, because I think we have always been consistent on celebrating the performances of our women's programs, of our non-giant revenue. From the beginning of this podcast has always celebrated those other sports and our success therein.
But isn't it also true that truly, like, football is in one column, and then even men's basketball and even hockey or even whatever else you wanted to choose, they're in an entirely different column over here, and especially given
the way that game this went. Question. Is anyone pretending that football didn't happen?
No,
that's true. That's a good point. No,
like it, and if we're gonna keep it at revenue sports,
sure.
Tell me that as annoying as it is that those cheating motherfuckers won, that we wouldn't be ecstatic in our own right about winning a national championship in basketball this year.
Sure.
Yep.
And to bring up those other sports is not about erasing their accomplishment, asterisk, in football, but it is to celebrate what we're accomplishing as an athletic department.
I think that's
if someone's suggesting that beating them in these other sports erases football, then that person's a moron.
Yeah.
Because they kicked our ass. And they did the year before that too. Like,
I think
the last few years haven't been fun.
Right. The last 2 years haven't been fun. The year before that was very fun.
Very fun.
And Gus said,
a lot of fun.
See you in New York, and I'll never forgive him for that. But
yeah,
I guess I just mean to say that if anyone's proposing that it's 1-to-1 or that we need that the scale is weighed by victories across all sports, that person is lying or is deeply invested in non-revenue sports in a way that is not relatable to most people who listen to this podcast or online or whatever. But it doesn't mean, like, I'm going to celebrate those victories because beating Michigan's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't care what sport. Beat them always.
That's right.
And apparently it's the women's basketball team who has annihilated them for 50 years.
Yeah.
And we didn't
should
know.
be talking about that more.
How did we not know?
Yep. Truly amazing. Next up, and good question, Lorenzo.
Yes, great
although-
question. Great question.
Agree.
Although-
It is a good question.
Although we can't, because it was a good question, we couldn't possibly want you to win the Heisman. We definitely, though, might want you to win the Walter Camp Award, which is for sure
Go
what
back.
you should change your name to.
People are saying.
People are saying. All right, the Keith Ski's up next. Will you play the NCAA 25 game?
Well, this was the subject of like maybe 20% of my conversation with the Mr. Shahan this week. And I'm excited about this personally. And Jonesy, when you and I were roommates over at the Delta Arms, this was in the rotation. We played this game, the NCAA series of games, a lot. Plum, I can't speak for you. Like, what's your experience, Plum, with the NCAA video games?
I don't have any thumbs, so it's always made working a controller very difficult. I have 2 index fingers on each hand, and they're just gangly and untoward.
Yeah, that sounds awful. And
If it ends up being a bunch of microtransactions, though, that is going to be disheartening.
it will be to have waited this long and to have it back now, and then just to lose it again for it to
That
be
way.
a money
Yeah.
grab like that would be truly awful.
But will you be surprised is the question.
No. If anyone that's paying
No.
attention right now in gaming cannot be
It's not going to
surprised.
be. Yep, that's right.
I asked this question to Matt, and I'll ask it to you guys. If you were going to play this game, a lot of this is coming up because they've released both a promotional video and promotional graphics. One of them definitely features the winged helmet in the upper right-hand corner. If it turns out to be like a Blake Corum or something like that as the cover athlete, is that disqualifying for you guys? Would you not buy it simply because a University of Michigan
Well, particularly because he's going to get more money as a result of it.
funneled through his LLC in
Correct.
Wyoming?
Yeah.
My God. My God.
I talk about this at length with Matt Sheehan, going over to Locked On,
Someone
pardon me,
proposed
from
Connor
earlier this
Stallions
week.
on the cover. Was
Yes.
that Sheehan?
If whatever
That's
it was,
my joke from
Oh,
them.
that was
Well,
your.
Thank you.
You messed up the joke because
Oh.
there's the sort of picture where depending on what angle you look at it, the picture is different.
He's telling you
that
how to make
would have
it
been
funnier.
a better version of the joke.
That's good. That's good.
All right, so Matt Sheehan, Jonesy's upset that he didn't get invited on
All
this
right.
week.
All right. All right.
You had a
Last
better
up,
joke. There was a one available to you. You should have run to the writer's room.
last
All right.
up from the Keith Ski. And I'm moving this along because I've never invited to anything, and I really resent it.
This is all about the search getting canceled on you. That's what this is all
I
about.
didn't even get invited onto the search. Ellie, you can fuck all the way off. Come to Detroit. See what happens. All right. Michael Jones, predict the NCAA men's basketball champion.
Michigan State. Next question. MZA. What's OSU's win mean for MSU's chances next week?
Improved. Truly, I believe this. Improved. Like, I think it's going to be an emotional hangover for them.
Yeah, that's right. I think
But
that's right.
I could be wrong. We'll find out.
What
Next
is this
up from
team ceiling? Oh yeah, go ahead.
Next up from MZA Jonesy, what is this team's ceiling in terms of seeding?
Probably at this point in time a 5, and that includes a run in the Big Ten
In
tournament.
the tournament, yeah, I think that's right.
That like it beats Purdue, maybe beats them a second time. Like that's what we're talking here.
Yeah,
The
to get a
problem
five.
about
I
a
think that's
second
right.
time is that would probably be in the championship game, and
Mm-hmm.
that won't matter for seeding. There's nothing you can
That's
do
fair.
at that point.
That's fair.
So
Data's in on that.
I
So
mean,
it's a six.
really, the thing though is if you go to Mackey and you win, it is the best win in college basketball. And what is that worth to the committee?
Not much. Not after Malik Hall's performance this season.
But this does.
Next up, Cedar Village.
This feels like a 5 ceiling. Continue.
6 for
Next
me.
up, Cedar Village Bagel. This question is to give the beautiful video podcast some juice. I must have missed something.
Probably.
Can't read, can't write. Show and tell edition. Show us your favorite MSU themed item in your house. Could be something cool or something historic. Could be your favorite jersey, shirt, wall art, or even your degree. Cedar Village Bagel. This is segment fishing, and we welcome it in the summer.
Yeah,
And
Cedar Village Bagel. This is great if we read things in advance, which we do not.
We refuse to.
Do you guys want to name your thing though? Like, if you just off the top of your head, what you might grab?
Nope. Next question.
Okay, Cedar Village Bagel. Come back in July.
Come back in July.
JD_Jerbear. How many cone card jerseys is too many for one person to buy?
6.
55. 56? 56.
Plum, did you notice that at one point during the Michigan game, his free throw percentage was the same number as his jersey number? Did you notice that?
I did.
How did
not
that make you
notice
feel?
that. It would have been good. It would have been real good.
55 is good for you,
Oh,
Alex?
55%. I thought you were talking about 5 for 5. That's 100%.
No, it was his free throw percentage is 55%.
Yeah, that's bad. I did think
Next
you
from
meant 5 for 5. though.
JD_Jerbear. Can we all admit Gus Johnson is brutal and not entertaining or good at his job?
Yes. All admitted. Nate C. Next up, what will it take to get at JD__ Jerbear on the pod to talk at MSU_hockey?
Does he know something? Who's this person?
No, he does broomball, I thought. Didn't he do broomball in college?
I think, he's the broomball guy.
The broomball ice.
Anyway,
ice
Nate
broomball.
C, when broomball gets big, we'll bring this JD
We'll bring on,
I'm
underscore
down at the
Jerbear
Lax
character
house a
on.
lot too.
Jordan Bear. What's his name?
Yeah.
I don't even know.
All right. Next up, Nate C. Can Cone Car fly just a little bit?
He did.
Yeah.
That putback dunk was not easy. So Nate C's onto something here. It was like a underneath the basket, up and around and in type of thing.
Yeah.
Bonus and related, is Carr greater than Bridges?
Yes. So far hasn't tried to just beat his love interest to death with a hammer. That's
Or weirdly change all the profile names so that he can send messages against the court orders into her home.
Yeah, it's not good. No.
Yeah. Did we also want to take this opportunity to distance ourselves from other former MSU athletes?
Bryn. Second time for Bryn, too.
Poor Bryn. Poor Bryn's victims, really. Really, for poor survivors, I guess.
Why, though?
Why
is it that when you have so much...
Yep, you just want to throw it away. You just literally want to take it and you just want to light it on fire. Talent, skill, learning potential, money, just destroy it.
I don't know about Bryn Forbes when he was here, but truly the disappointment of who Miles Bridges turned out to be, but from where he was when he was here, the way that he decided to come back, some of the comments that he made in the media about how he was getting family pressure to go pro, and he was just like, I'm not into that consumerism stuff. Like, I thought there was so much there, and the fall from that has been so discouraging.
Yep.
Next up, Carl, you do too much, bro. If you're Gene Smith, are you trying to land Paris, Miller, or May to replace Holtman?
If you're Gene Smith, you're so close to retirement, you don't know anything. You're an imbecile. You don't care.
You might leave this one for the next guy or gal.
Probably. Why not? Frankly.
By way of contrast from Carl, you do too much, bro. If you're Ward Manuel, are you trying to take a nice little nap at your desk after a big lunch, you sleepy little fella?
This is great.
They showed him at the beginning of the game. They didn't show him at the end of the game. I'll say that.
He does snoozing. He had his hand still in the nacho cheese dip, and he just was snoozing. That's a big snoozing guy.
The thing that I know in here is true is that it was a big lunch.
Next up, Uncle Helge. Jonesy, are you suffering a groin injury?
I am not. Next up, Uncle Helge. Should Spartan Nation have thrown their trash onto the court in Chrysler Arena? What would Alex Plum recommend throwing? Hot dog wrapper, socks, hygiene supplies.
Used hygiene supplies, Uncle.
Next up, Matt Wiggins. The three of you playing pickup to 21 against Stevie, Malik, and Madi. What's the spread?
Oh my God.
I mean,
this is the first basketball game I could ever possibly win.
I think they got to spot us a few points. Points.
Only a couple. You know, Stevie would not make, none of them would make any of their free throws. That's how you'd win the game right there.
So just hack all of them?
Hack all of them, and then I would just be underhand throwing my free throws, and I'd make them all.
Removing the actual scholarship athletes from this, do you think Stevie Izzo can go to IM West and just own fools? Do you think people have stories? Yeah, I actually agree with that because he was coming off the bench in his high school game. So,
he's such a nitto guy. Nitto guy.
But
next up,
hell of a way to score points in an actual college basketball game, which I've never done.
Legendary. Not taking nothing away.
Correct.
He executed it against a Big Ten starter at a Big Ten level. Iconic.
Yes. 100%.
Next up, Beppe Plum. ADHD kicked in and I didn't hit post and missed the faces of disgust. That was my biggest regret of last week. With that, which name phrase is the best? Cup of Joe. I'm going to Ralph. I'm just joshing you. Plenty of jokes about Richards. Don't horse this up. Can we be plum silly?
I think it's don't horse this up. I think the commitment to the horse bit is going to always be my favorite. Beppe Plum.
Yeah,
Next
I was
up,
afraid
Beppe,
that you were
rant
going
of the
to
week.
horse that question, but then you pulled it off.
You pulled it off.
Rant of the week, Peacock. Also the new Spartan radio app that no longer streams in the app, but in a web browser. The random pauses every 10 to 15 seconds was worse than losing a game. Everyone who's not hosting the show is terrible. Oh, and a hockey on BTN Plus, woof, and Horst. F him still, but not Fago.
I remember when I was living in the Chicago suburbs and I had to rely on the Spartan radio app, and it was enough to make me move back to Michigan. That was the inciting incident.
Do you not listen to WJR?
Well, I do now.
WJR? Yeah.
Then I'm back here. But when I was living in Chicago, I had
but
to
they have a
WJR
WJR app. You could listen to the WJR app. That's how I listen to all
my.
my
That was a while ago, Plum.
Oh, it was longer than WAJR had an app?
I don't think AM radio even knew what apps were at the time that I was in the Chicago suburbs.
All right.
And also, it does happen sometimes that they have different rights, and what they
sometimes
stream is different from what's being broadcast.
Not often.
That happens on the Impact a fair amount. So Beppe, I have relied on that resource in the past, and I can feel your pain for where you're at right now.
Yep.
Next up, Mamapa Leaf. MSU women's basketball just swept U of M for the season. First time since 2019. 75-25 wouldn't suggest that. It was a game of runs and big plays per Coach Freilich. What makes her the real deal so soon in her tenure? Are you not yet impressed?
We're all impressed, Susan. Everybody's. We were talking about it. Were you not listening?
We've been talking
20,
about
30
this.
minutes ago?
Did you not hear this episode in advance, Mamapa Leaf? Come on.
Come on.
Come
Mamapa.
on.
Damn.
Why so aggressive?
I'm going to take this opportunity to co-opt Mamapa Leaf's questions. These types of stats. First time since 2019. First time since 2021. When is it that something like this actually registers for you? Because like the gymnastic thing where it's like first win in Ann Arbor since like the Clinton administration.
Right.
That tracks. That
meant
screen time to me.
Yep.
But something like this where it's like, oh, first specified road win in conference in several years.
Yep.
This doesn't do anything for me.
It's performative.
Bush.
It's performative.
It's Bush.
It's just I had to find that factoid so that I had something to say. Nah.
Or sometimes you'll get like first conference championship in 5 years. And I'm like, good for you. There are 20 teams now in conference. That means a lot. Like, if it's Ohio State and you're like, first football conference championship in 3 years, that might be worth saying something.
Yeah.
But when it's Wisconsin or anyone or us or anyone else, it's like, good. That means it's a good program continuing to be good. It just seems lazy to me, especially when the program is 75-25 against U of M overall.
Yep. That's right.
Great.
Last
Next
up
up from Homopoly, do you look better on Mondays than on Sundays? Is that why the change in recording day?
Plum,
It's
that's to you.
true. That's on me. I asked to move this to Mondays because Sunday nights, time with the old hubby, it was good to have some dedicated Q time. Q is not queer, it's quality.
That's interesting. It's definitely not how you described it to us.
Well, I'm a liar. Serial liar. It's hard to keep them all straight. I tell so many lies, in fact. But anyone who's consistently listened to this podcast knows that's the truth.
Next up, Upper Deck Your Guy. What's the ugliest face you can make?
Don't do it. Don't do it. He's just trying to take screenshots so we can change our avatars. That's
Also,
what he's
you
doing.
don't know this podcast at all. If you thought that we were going to give you the fodder for that,
Yeah.
it has to happen organically. Upper Deck Jerk Guy. This is too vain a podcast for us to just be like, here you go.
Here's a phase.
What do you think of Akins' last 2 games? They've been great. Good.
Yeah.
Grand.
Good old Jaden.
Was the Michigan game great? Was it
No, but
great?
it was fine. It was passable.
It was good. It was good.
I mean,
It was
his
fine.
games before the last 2 games, I would say, were better than the last 2 games.
I said good, great, grand, wonderful. No yelling on the bus.
Okay.
Oh, yelling on the bus. Chris
Last
Farley,
up from the Upper Deck Jerk Guy. I keep losing track. Is Izzo washed or no? I don't think anyone here's.
No, I think I
Suggested he
came for him.
is.
No, I think I suggested he needed to be fired a couple weeks
Yeah,
ago.
you said you take him out behind the barn, I believe.
And I think you
That's where
said
all the
even
good old
today.
horses go. Yeah, turn them into glue.
I think
Yeah,
even
more or less.
today
I
you
think
said
he's-
you would fire him for a win against Ohio State at home. I think that's
Hello?
Mhm.
No, for the Purdue win, I think.
Purdue
right?
at home.
In 2 weeks.
Pardon me.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. And I still will.
All right. We got hopefully a lively week of another 2 basketball wins, and that is worth celebrating. Until then, gentlemen, go green.
Oh, wait.
Go State.
That's good.
Worst callback.
That's good. That's really good.